All right, well, let's get started. We'll just kind of, as people are joining, I'm just going to run through some housekeeping things. So first and foremost, welcome to everybody. Thank you for taking the time today to join us for a deep dive into the Wimbledon Tennis Championships and how to sell it, how to position it to your client or clients. I've got Brittany here from our team who's joining us. She's our operations manager, and so she's going to be helping me with moderating any sort of questions that you have. You can just type it into the chat or take yourself off mute and just ask the question as we go along. I want this to be highly interactive. So, this is not me presenting 57 slides and then you asking questions at the end. If you've got things that you want to ask, just, take yourself off mute and ask, or put it into the chat session and we'll get to it. You can actually, a quick Zoom tip. I know you're all Zoom experts, but you can, if you look at my screen or my little feed, you can right click at the very top and you can pin me as the presenter. You can enlarge it and play around with that. So that might be a good way to sort of follow along, assuming you want to see my feed. Permission to engage, quick gauge on some of the folks that are already joining. Maybe throw out a couple of things that you're hoping to get out of this webinar. When you're investing 25 minutes here with me, what are you hoping to get out of it? Not a trick question.
Hi, Catherine here from Washington, D.C. I just want to figure out how to position this to my clients. I have, upscale clients that might be interested. I've never sold anything like this before. I'm looking forward to this in the World Cup because I might have clients that are interested in this type of event. And so, I'm just kind of want to see how I would pitch this to my clients. And is this really happening in 2021? Will Americans be allowed to go over there and attend also? Because most of my clients are from the US.
Yeah, those are fantastic questions. We're definitely going to hit on that, Catherine. Thank you for asking that. We are running these, by the way, webinars like once a month, and we keep picking. Actually, we actually have you at a poll at the end, pick the next webinar or the next sporting event that you want to go deep on. And then once we've done the webinars, we do record these. So by the way, you don't have to worry about taking notes. We will send this out as a recording afterwards, but we also post them on virtuoso.com. So we have multiple sessions already out there. I think we did, last month we did Kentucky Derby, and before that it was the Summer Olympics, and something else before that I don't remember right off the top of my head. But we'll do a poll here at the end, and you can pick and choose the one that you want to see for next month. So with that said, let's...
Hi, Philippe. This is Elise Corey. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Elise with TravelWise.
Yes.
How are you going, as I'm watching the Australian Open right now?
Yes.
How are you positioning the seating? Do you expect it to go back to normal? Will there be limited occupancy at Wimbledon, 25%? Because I know Australian Open, had to shut down the visitors because of the new variants came. So I'm just wondering what are your protocols? What are your refund challenges? All that kind of thing that you see.
Yep, those are all great questions. And what she's referring to is the Australian Open, which is one of the 4 Grand Slam tennis tournaments. The first one for the year started off this year with 50% capacity, and unfortunately halfway through the tournament decided to cut it back to 0, which was very unfortunate. But yes, we are going to cover that. So with that said, let's move into some. So really quickly, from an agenda perspective, we're going to cover some event updates right off the bat. Hopefully, answer some of your questions that were just posed. We'll do a deep dive into the event. We'll talk about, again, we're a tour operator first and foremost. I probably should have started with that. On Point Events, we are a tour operator, so that means we put together these travel experiences around the major sporting events. So these are going to be complete packages with hotel, transfer, tickets, etc. And that's what we're selling as an experience to obviously our clients and through travel advisors and what have you. And then lastly, we're going to touch on some of the qualifying questions to ask your clients. So for those of you that are new to selling sporting events or this type of travel product, that might be insightful. So yes, challenging year, right? So 2020 was super challenging for the event business. And any major sporting events essentially either got canceled, postponed, or went off without any spectators. It's gotten a little bit better this year. We started off with the Super Bowl at about a 33% capacity. Of course, we just talked about the Australian Open, which is unfortunate, the decision that they made. But we are currently, as we sit here today, we're 145 days away from the Wimbledon Championships in England. There are some challenges, but so far we have only heard that the event is on track to happen. We don't know what kind of capacity restrictions are going to be in place, if any. I suspect there probably will be some, but we are talking about an event that's still 145 days out. There will absolutely be protocols in place for COVID to keep all the fans safe. So it's probably going to be all the things that we're already used to, you know, the temperature checks, the hand sanitizers, and what have you at the event itself. Things like hospitality and food and beverage stations, that's definitely going to be different. That we absolutely expect that for the tournament. And then of course, traveling back and forth. I don't have to tell you as the travel advisors to the world out there, they just implemented now that if you're coming back into the US, you have to have a negative COVID test, right? 3 days prior to departure. And England has the same thing and has the same protocol in place if you're traveling to England. So there will be a negative COVID test required 3 days prior to travel. So that's kind of the update on Wimbledon. Will it happen this year? We expect it to, but again, it's been a challenging time in the event industry. So I think a lot still remains to be seen. So how are we handling some of that? This is something fairly new that we've implemented for clients, as we're offering what's called a trip protection plan. And this is different from trip insurance, but it is 100% money back guarantee for clients that are concerned about traveling to these sporting events. So if the event gets canceled or if the event proceeds without spectators, it's 100% money back guarantee. It is a 10% fee, which is commissionable to you as a travel advisor, and it has to be purchased at the time of purchasing the actual travel package. So it's not trip insurance. So for trip insurance type coverage, I still would suggest that you look for that, through all the different trip insurance companies out there for medical expenses, emergency evacuation, that type of thing. Any questions so far on that before I sort of go into the event a little bit more in detail?
So that coverage, let's say the package was $10,000, it would be $1,000. And if it was canceled or if there were no spectators, but it wouldn't cover like, we're taking some people, but there's a spike. I mean, it would just be if there was no be able to go.
That's correct. So if it runs with 50% capacity or 25% capacity, yeah, then the event's still happening, right? And then we're still at capacity.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Now you could combine that, and I mean, I'm sure you're seeing some of this as well, right? As you're talking to clients about traveling during these challenging times, there are some companies that have started to reintroduce cancel for any reason. So that's something else, again, if clients wanted to consider some sort of combination. So even if they were not comfortable traveling, even if the event got ratcheted back to 50%, there's still an option for them. Obviously, the cancel for any reason insurance that I've seen out there doesn't give them 100%, but
right.
It gives them some sort of coverage.
Philippe, in the chat, I have a question. What if due to travel restrictions, travelers are unable to access the country/place where the event is happening?
Yeah, that one's tough. So if for whatever reason Americans get barred from entering into England, that is something that we're currently not covering as part of our trip protection. That one's tough. Yeah. All right. Any other questions, Brittany, in the chat?
Nope, that's it so far.
All right. Thank you for those questions. Let's dive into sort of some of the details around Wimbledon. So this is a yearly event. So even if it's something that you're not comfortable presenting to clients this coming year, hopefully this is something that will be, it'll be an event that continues to happen every single year, always in late June, early July. And it's always at the All England Tennis Club, which is located in Wimbledon, just outside of London. It is the world's oldest tennis tournament. It is also one of what we consider the 4 Grand Slam tennis tournaments that happen in the world. So the first one's obviously Australian Open, which we're about halfway, or a little over halfway through right now. The next one is French Open in May. And then, of course, there's the Wimbledon in June, July. And then we have the U.S. Open Tennis Tournament here in the U.S., which happens in August, September. So those are the 4 Grand Slams. The grounds at Wimbledon, they do open at 10:30 in the morning. And so you'll see, and I'll show you a picture, the kind of an overview of the ground so you can kind of get a sense for it, but it's fairly large. There are a lot of outside courts, which are first come, first served basis, and those courts start play at around 11. But center court and court 1, which are the 2 only reserved seating courts on premises, the play typically starts at 1 p.m., other than the final, obviously, in center court, which is played or starts at 2 p.m. So a question we get a lot is like, well, when does it end? It's really tough with tennis. I think actually the 2 records that have been held both for the shortest tennis game and the longest tennis game were both at Wimbledon. The shortest tennis game ever in history took 20 minutes, and the longest took over 11 hours and was played over 3 days. So difficult to say when it would actually finish. I mean, obviously those are kind of opposite ends of the extreme, but it's not uncommon for some of these matches to drag on for several hours. This is a very common bucket list trip. So we do a lot of couples and of course corporate groups for this. And in a lot of cases, it might be one or both in the couple that play tennis or have some sort of passion for it. Something else for those of you that are kind of interested in more prospecting for new business, something that we've seen a lot is travel advisors that work with the different tennis communities in and around where they are, approaching those tennis clubs, private clubs, and offering them, trips to Wimbledon. That could be something to consider. It is considered one of the hardest tickets in tennis. So it's not an easy ticket to get access to. Luckily, we have access to tickets and have done for years and years. I'll talk a little bit about why that is here in a little bit. But one of the questions I get sometimes from clients as well, I've heard that I can enter into the lottery and get tickets. And yes, that is true. You can certainly try. The probability of getting tickets through the lottery, especially for the more coveted games like the semifinals and finals, is slim to none. There's also this option of queuing, which is like the British term for lining up for tickets on the day of. And yes, that is also true. And so if your clients are willing, which I doubt they would be, but if they're willing to overnight in tents out in front of the All England Club and wait for tickets to possibly become available that morning, that is certainly an option. But typically that's not the clients that we tend to serve. Quick poll just to see if everyone's still awake and paying attention. Brittany, do you want to launch our first poll? Name the 4 tournaments of the Tennis Grand Slam. This is a multiple choice. The 4 tournaments of the Tennis Grand Slam. I love it. Yep, everyone's clearly paying attention. Love it. Thank you so much. Let me share those results. Everyone got the answers correct. Love it. We clearly got some tennis fans on this call. All right, so as I started off with, we are a tour operator. So that means we are running full packages, right? So these are going to be travel experiences that contain both hotels, tickets to the different matches, transportation, and then optionally some tours, whatever people want to sort of weave into this. We don't have any minimum night stays, and we are very flexible in the hotel product that we're offering. But these are complete packages. So one question we get a lot is, well, do you sell tickets by themselves? And unfortunately, the answer is no. We're not selling the tickets by themselves, only as part of an actual experience. So we use a variety of different hotels. I'm going to kind of go through this fairly quickly, but some of the hotels that we tend to use and we have agreements with for the Wimbledon, obviously the Four Seasons, Park Lane, which is a classic property. The newly renovated Mandarin Oriental in Hyde Park, which is amazing. The quintessential Dorchester, which again famous for its high tea, and just quintessentially a British property. Same thing with the Langham, which is another property that we tend to use, iconic property. And then our entry level property tends to be a DoubleTree by Hilton in Chelsea. Not to say that if your specific client is looking for a different property that we couldn't put together a package for that, that we can certainly do that. All right, this is the overview picture I want to show you. So a lot of people don't realize how big the grounds are at the All English Club, but there are a lot of different tennis courts, as you can see here. So the only tennis courts that have reserved seating and therefore are ticketed are going to be Court 1 and Center Court. And the difference between them is Center Court is where all the top seeded players are playing. This is also where you'll see the semifinals and the finals. And the Court 1 will be sort of the second tier seeded players. And so at 10:30, when the grounds open, people can come in here, first come, first served, and they can sit at some of these other courts that are sprinkled around. The main access point is over here. If you can kind of, let me see if I can show, yeah, so kind of over in this area. And then down here, you've got hospitality, which I'll talk about, but this is very convenient. It's on the grounds. It's located on the grounds at the All English Club, and it's in close proximity to get to Center Court for the seats or for your seats. So it's something that we highly recommend. Just talking about the seats, let's dive into that for a moment. So there are the only seats that can be legally resold for Wimbledon are called debenture seats. And the debenture seats are going to be located in the 200 level and in the first about 3 rows of the 300 level. So it's kind of what you see here in purple up here in the Center Court on the far right-hand side of your screen. The seats are in the 100 level, typically reserved for corporate sponsors. And then there's some other seating in sort of the top of the 300 level and the 500 level as well that are used for similar purposes. But the debenture seats is what we're selling. As you can see, it's on the same level as the royal box, which is where the king and queen or the princess sit when they come and see Wimbledon. So I would say it's pretty decent seating. Same thing for court number 1. We don't do a whole lot of business for court number 1. Most people want to go to Center Court, but same sort of concept there. Just to kind of give you an idea what the view from the seats are. Wimbledon that Center Court is actually very small. This is a view from section 309, row N, which we don't even sell because it's a high row, but this kind of gives you an idea of what the view is from a high row in section 300. Most of our seats are going to be in the 200 level on the first 3 rows of the 300 level. So even in this high row, it's a great seat. Again, royal box over here. Any questions so far on the seating? Nothing in the chat, Brittany? Okay. Let's take a look at the schedule. So again,
we had someone asked about debenture.
What was the question about debenture? Brittany? I think we might have lost Brittany for a moment. Yeah, so debenture seats is just the name of the so debenture seats are basically seats that Wimbledon will sell. Think about it as like season tickets, right? And so the debenture holders, it's a 5-year hold period. They buy them, and those are the only tickets that are allowed to be resold for this event. They're in great locations. They're all in this 200 level or the first 3 rows of the 300 level. And so that's what we call debenture seating. And that's what you'll hear. Those are the only tickets that are allowed to be resold for this event. From a schedule perspective, this will kind of give you an idea of the schedule for Wimbledon. So it's like with any tournament, there's like 4 initial rounds. These are all elimination rounds. They happen from June 28th all the way through July 5th. After that, we get into sort of the quarterfinals. And then after that, into the semifinals, and of course, culminates into the ladies' final, which is on July 10th this year, and the men's singles finals, which is on July 11th this year. And so every ticket is a ticket for that day, and it's for that day's play. So when you buy a ticket for Saturday, July 10th for the Center Court, you're getting access to, in this case, the ladies singles final, the men's doubles final, and the ladies doubles final. And you have access to that for the whole day. All right, a couple other things I want to talk about is quickly is the hospitality. This is something that we highly recommend. This is the only hospitality, or one of the only hospitalities, that is on the grounds of the All England Club. It's very high end. It's food and drink throughout the day. You know, the strawberries and cream, anything that sort of screams British, it's all about. And it has an outside and inside section, and it's literally within about a 6 or 7 minute walk to the client seats in center court. So something for the sort of the more discerning clients, something that we would highly recommend. Now, as a debenture ticket holder, you do have access to what's called the debenture lounge, which is going to have food and drink. Again, not sure how that's going to play with the COVID protocols, but there's going to be some food and drink available. But one of the things you can do is you can actually make reservations. And so if you contact our team, and we'll obviously, advise you of this during the process, we can make reservations at certain restaurants in the debenture lounge. And so that's going to be a really pleasant way for your clients to ensure that they have a place to sit down and come and eat and drink during their time on the grounds. So again, as a tour operator, we are offering obviously full programs. So in addition to just the transfers and the tickets and the hotel, we also organize a lot of different specialty tours throughout London, whether it be museum tours, whether it be things like champagne and canopies on the London Eye. Those are all things that our team can put together and sort of weave into the itinerary for the clients. So let's talk a little bit about pricing. So again, the biggest drivers of price is going to be the hotel that clients want to stay at, the duration of time, and of course, how many matches they want to see of tennis at Wimbledon, and which ones. So do they want to go to the earlier rounds, or do they want to go to the semifinals and finals? Progressively as the tournament goes on, the pricing does go up. So an earlier round is not going to be priced the same as the finals, obviously. But this will kind of give you an idea of pricing. I think a good way to look at it is roughly it starts at about $3,000 a person and kind of goes up from there. Typically, I think our average, I think I have that in this next slide here. Yeah, average price by the time we look at all of our bookings for Wimbledon, it's typically around $8,750 a person, but roughly around that $2,825 or $3,000 per person is kind of where it starts for Wimbledon. So some key questions to ask clients as you're trying to qualify them for this type of travel product might be to ask them whether or not they've been to a Wimbledon championship before. And if so, when? And the reason why I like to ask that question is if it's a long time ago, obviously there's probably going to be a difference in price compared to what they saw, 10 years ago. What sessions and how many do they want to attend? Again, the later rounds are going to be at a premium compared to the earlier rounds. And so that'll kind of give you also a sense of what sort of budget that they're working with. Again, the drivers of price are going to be hotel, number of sessions they want to go to, and any sort of extras that they want to weave into their stay or into their experience. So things like tours, whether or not they want to do the hospitality, whether or not they want to have private transportation throughout their stay, etc. So we kind of use bracketing as a technique when we talk to clients about this, just to kind of get an idea of what have they set aside for this type of experience. And that kind of helps us guide them into, when does it make the most sense for them to be at Wimbledon. All right, 11:24, I'm right at that 25-minute mark. I want to open it up for some more questions and answers. Brittany, let me know if you have anything in the chat. If you want to ask a question, just take yourself off mute and ask the question by all means.
Yep, we do have some questions. Can you protect clients if matches are delayed or postponed due to weather?
Great question. So I failed to mention this, but one of the new things, or fairly new, I guess it's within a couple of years now, is they put a retractable roof on both center court and court one. So the idea of a match being delayed due to weather is no longer a factor at Wimbledon. Now, if it ends up being one of these marathon matches, like I mentioned earlier, the extreme, right, where it took 3 days for them to complete a match, then the ticket that you have as a client to go in, I mean, the ticket is for that. It's for that session. So if that session bleeds into the next day, then that ticket will still be valid for that next day, if that makes sense. But inclement weather is no longer a problem at Wimbledon.
Another question is hospitality access an additional cost?
Yes. Yeah, it is. And there was also an additional cost for getting the restaurant reservations.
Another question.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, we've got a lot of questions. Let's see. Not clear about your trip protection. That's another one.
Okay, yep, I can just pull up the chat session. So yeah, so the trip protection, basically, if they don't purchase the trip protection, that's correct. If the event is canceled, then it is subject to our existing terms and conditions, which is that it would be non-refundable. Now, obviously we're going to do what we can, but I just want to make sure that it's clear that the only way to get 100% refund would be if they purchase the trip protection. I see one on here. Can you purchase a package that doesn't include reserved tickets? Sure, but I'm not sure why you would want to why they would want to purchase the. Oh, okay, I see. Maybe. Okay, I got it. So maybe purchase a package where there's no reserved tickets, but they can just go to the actual grounds. Yes, you can definitely do that. We don't really sell the grounds passes. That's something that they would have to buy at the at the door. So, at that point, they could essentially purchase a package anywhere, or you could set it up a package for them. But yeah. Let's see, are there any Virtuoso specials or amenities? Yes, we offer, so as a Virtuoso special amenity is we are offering, it's a commemorative gift package that includes some souvenirs from Wimbledon that's included in that package. How many specific days is the 28-25 package for? Let me pull that slide up again. So 28-25, so that's a starting at price package. That's going to be for a 2-night stay, and it includes reserved seats in court number 1, not center court, but court number 1, which is the other court where that has reserved seating. Again, there could be some great tennis matches there. I'm not saying anything there, but most of our clients tend to want to focus on center court. So the top Cs are always going to play on center court. Let's see. Do people usually purchase several days worth of tickets, or do they go to one match? That's a great question. So typically we see people buy back-to-back days. I mean, they're either going to buy one day of set, like one day session, or they're going to do back-to-back. So we see a lot of people that come in and want to do the semifinals and the finals. But if they come in for like the opening rounds, they might do 2 back-to-back, or maybe they'll do one opening round, then take one day off to go do touring, and then come back and do another opening round. So that tends to be the format. Any chance to meet the players? Unfortunately, the players, if they're competing, they are going to be off limits for any sort of meet and greets. If they're retired players, if that's something that your clients are interested in, reach out to us for that. That is something that we can facilitate. Obviously, there'll be a charge for that. Let's see, what is the lead-in rate for 2? Okay, so the lead-in rate again would be 28-25. That's where it starts per person. So whatever that math turns out to be for 2 people. Yes, we are going to share this recording after the webinar. Let's see, what is the cost of the trip protection? It's 10% of the package. So if it's a $10,000 package, it would be 10% or $1,000. What are your more popular events for US travelers? Wow, that's a loaded question. I mean, right now, to be candid, the most popular event that we have that we're seeing the most demand for still is, I guess would be 2. For 2021, it's still the Summer Olympics in Tokyo. And for 2022, it's the World Cup in Qatar, which is going to be in November, December of next year. So I'm trying to scroll through the chat. So I think I've pretty much picked off most of these questions. Feel free to take yourself off mute if you've got another question or anything that I haven't answered. Yeah, so here, are you saying that no? Okay. Yeah, I think we've answered all of those. If I have a client who loves tennis, he wanted to go to the Barcelona Open before COVID, he's getting ready to travel now. I'm not sure if that's tomorrow. I don't know is that a question in regards to the Barcelona Open? Because I'm not familiar with the Barcelona Open. It's not an event that we cover, so I wouldn't really have any.
No, sorry. That was just, you were asking why did people want to attend this webinar? That was my initial thing. So sorry about that.
No, that's okay. I'm just trying to make sure that I've covered most of these questions. Great. So would love to see the webinar on World Cup. Great. So let's actually move on to that. So let me get your input. Brittany, if you can fire up the next and last poll, which is, again, we try to do these webinars once a month. So if there is something else that you want to see, please let us know. What sporting event do you want to see in our next webinar? So we got Super Bowl, Masters. Masters we did, I think, last year, maybe in November or maybe December. Kentucky Derby we did last month, so we just posted that one. Yep, Euro Cup is another one. Champions League final, Summer Olympics, Winter Olympics. Yeah, so Summer Olympics we also did recently. What I'll do is, as part of sending out the follow-up email from this webinar, is I will send out I'll send out a couple of things. I'd like to send out a link to a short video for the hospitality, just to kind of give you an overview of the hospitality option at Wimbledon, because it really is quite impressive. I'll also send out a link to sort of a one-pager teaser that does not have our logos on it, that you can share with clients about Wimbledon, just to kind of get the conversation started, to see if there's any interest. So we'll send that out. And then I will send links to some of these sporting events that we recently did. So again, the Kentucky Derby, I know 3 of you want to see that. Summer Olympics, 4 of you want to see that. So I'll send that out. But it sounds like Winter Olympics and Summer Olympics are probably the 2 that most people want to see. So let me share these results. So I'll share the link for the Summer Olympics one that we just did, and Winter Olympics, we will start working on that one. And we will get that out to you. That'll probably be the one that we choose next month. So thank you for participating in that. Are there any other questions that we can answer about Wimbledon or about any other sporting events? Or
I just had a question about the tickets. So I did go to Wimbledon a few years ago, and we did get our tickets through debenture, but I recall that there was another company, and I forget the name right now, that also was reselling tickets. Is that no longer the case? Is debenture the only option in terms of resale?
Yeah, debenture is the only option of resale. I would definitely caution you from buying anything that's not a debenture seat. Not to say that people don't sell them. I've seen some companies out there, selling non-debenture seats, but your clients do take a risk when they go through the turnstiles. Okay.
So that's the only one that's approved by Wimbledon then?
That's
I
correct.
take it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the debenture holders are basically like season ticket holders, right? So they have a 5-year agreement with Wimbledon. That's how they get the seats. But with that agreement, they are allowed to resell them. And so those are the people that we work with, for the actual, again, quote unquote, the equivalent of a season ticket holder.
Yeah, England is very strict about resale of tickets. I know for things like Hamilton, even like there, you can't scalp you can't resell tickets. You
That's
can't
right.
so you have to be very careful.
Yeah.
And I may have missed this. What was the commission rate?
So the commission on our programs are all going to be 10%. So we do work on both a net or a commissional basis. It's up to you. And we do have travel advisors that ask us to build more in. Again, you know your clients best, so we're very flexible. But our standard commission is 10%.
Great, thank you so much.
Yep. Any other questions we can answer?
Really good presentation.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I can only hope that people will go. I'm sure you do too. So
Look, it's been, I mean, I don't have to tell you that, right? I mean, we're
Yeah.
all sort of in the same industry. This has been crazy. You know, for us, we're completely at the mercy, of course, of these event
Right.
organizers, but then we're also at the mercy of the governments, right? So the governments don't allow our clients to travel in, you know, due to COVID and what have you. You know, it just throws in a whole nother wrench into the system that, you know, we couldn't foresee.
Right.
So that's
Even
why,
once an event starts, like, I don't know if you sold to Australia because we can't go there, but 1 minute they're in and in the middle of the match, they have to leave the stadium.
that's exactly right. Like how do you, I mean, how do you deal with that? That's why when I think one of the trial advisors on here asked the question, it's like, well, you know, what happens in that scenario? Is like, I mean, we can only do so much as far as, you know, as far as covering all this. That's why we're highly recommending, which I'm sure you are with your clients, recommending people to take out travel insurance. I mean, if there's ever been a time to take out travel insurance, this would be
Right.
it. You know, we recommend taking out this trip protection plan. You know, and if people still are uncomfortable, then, you know, I recommend, you know, quite frankly, this is not very self-serving, but maybe you just punch the pause button and you wait until next year.
Right.
That's not ideal, but it is what it is. You know, we don't, I mean, the worst thing is when clients are unhappy because they get stuck because of all these things that are outside of our control. So yeah, it's a fine balance.
So on the insurance, I know you said this twice, but just one more time. So if they take out your protection, if the event is canceled, they're covered. And what was the other reason that they would be covered?
If it happens without spectators. So like,
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. If there's no other questions, thank you so much for spending 37 minutes of your lives with us. Really appreciate that. Stay warm out there. I know we're trying to here in Houston. We're thankful that we've got power and heat.